So this is a daily routine that we do as a developer. So every morning we wake up around 6 if I go to the office, or 7 if I work at home. So and then after that, breakfast, shower, bus if I go to the office. And then once I'm in the office, I'll check out all the meetings required on that day. So I will open up my Google Calendar to check. Starting around 9:15, we'll have our daily dev meeting, and then our product team meeting at 9:45. Sometimes also a coffee session around after the quiz. The apps that, or the communication apps that I use normally is Thunderbird for my mail, or sometimes also for checking all the meetings that I have during that day. But normally I just use Chrome also at that time. So for Chrome or my websites, I still have my Gmail on, Google Calendar, checking all of my Google Meets during that day. I sometimes also open now also Clockify just to check in all the timings for our Jira tickets. GitLab for our V2BAU code versioning checking. GitLab for GitHub for our new Panoni apps in the future too. And then we have our BAU SPPP board in Jira, and then Panoni board for our future apps or new apps, and then also Confluence for documentation for apps and other information required, and then yes, opening up for documentation again for AWS infrastructure, and also adding tabs for my local development for V2 app, so that in there you can just see our sample V2 dashboard, and then some other apps like Supabase for database session, and then sometimes also opening up just Google for some research like Stack Overflow. For the other current apps aside from Chrome that I'm using at the moment, so we have obviously Slack, um, Thunderbird for my mail checking and other meetings during the day, Docker virtualization for my local development, PHP Storm for my coding session, um, coding session for PHP in particularly, or JavaScript. Sometimes I also use VS Code for mostly JavaScript development and testing for APIs. So I use normally Insomnia or sometimes also Postman. For database, I normally use MySQL Workbench for our old V2 system. pgadmin for a new payroll system, and then a couple of CLI or command terminals that I use. So I use PowerShell in Windows, but in my Mac I use Terminal. I also sometimes open up Linux one because we also use we use Linux in our production servers and other testing servers. And then for code review and code commits, so I use Gitkraken at times. I also use GitHub Desktop for our newer systems. And then after that, we have lunch midday or 1 p.m. Normally 1 p.m. I use my lunch, and then I also do try to do some coding in the afternoon, or if ever there's still some a couple of meetings during that day. Towards the end of the day, I normally leave the office around 4:30 if I'm in the office, or 5 off my office room at if I'm working at home. Around 6 had my dinner. After dinner, just watch some shows sometimes, and then games, a bit of games, and then I sleep around 10 ish, and then that's the end of a daily life of a developer.